Well, speaking of that, I brought up your next piece, and I'm just curious, like, what do you want people to think of when they see this piece? Because you got an American flag. It's almost like a bit of Americana in this for sure. You got the boxing gloves, basketball. That's probably an American sport and all this.
Nah, this was another piece like I'd been working on for like a couple years, like 2 years too, and the title of this one is actually When Pompeii Burned, and I'd kind of been sitting on this one for a while before I put it out, and I'd like been done with it, and I was kind of like messing around and like just living with it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like feeling it out for myself, because you always want to hang out. I like hanging out with if I can hang out with the artwork, that means I feel like, all right, like. It's
so interesting. You have a personal relationship with your pieces. You have it in your studio, and you're like, yeah, I just want to hang. You're like, your girl hits you up. What are you doing tonight? I'm hanging with my art. What you talking about?
Of his life.
I've had that's been an issue. Oh wow. Nah, man, you want to be able to hang out, because if you can't hang out with your own work, like you want other people. So.
And I'm not saying you're crazy, but what's this stigma of. Like all these good artists, they're like lunatics. Like Stephen King, he was always on like hella drugs when he was writing his best books. I don't know. It's like, what's the deal with that? I mean, I'm a musician too. I definitely like party and do my thing, and I'm definitely weird and I'm not like average. But do you think really good artists kind of have to be a little crazy, like just to come up with these weird ideas? Or
I mean, I know a lot of great artists that are just
normal dudes, just clocking
dudes, like clocking in. They show up, they got everything all set up, all nice and perfect.
Maybe it's normal in front of you though.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, like, you hear like the real interesting stories is always like the Jackson Pollock. So there's like a freaking crazy alcoholic.
Like Van Gogh cut his him, right? Cut his ear off and sent it to his girl. You know about that?
Yeah, he weird as hell.
There's all sorts of like like in that for a while that was like a big story that like art dealers would push, right? Like
it probably helps sell his art. But even with on the music side of it, Adele, for example, there was a point where she was in a really healthy, happy relationship, and she felt she wasn't writing as good of songs, so she essentially ended her relationship so she would have more inspiration for like her new album that was coming up. So it's like, do you think artists kind of push that even further, where it's like, I'm so angry about this, and they start creating like, this is tight, how do I get even angrier? Like,
absolutely. How much of yourself in your own image of who you are is wrapped into what you do? Like, what's the question? I do, therefore I am, right?
Or like the Heath Ledger thing, where you're so into the character and it's part of the art, but then you get lost in it.
Absolutely.
Do you have any like tricks to not get too involved where you're just like going crazy? Because I'm sure you're doing a piece and like, this piece is about me being angry, or it's about society being fucked. Because say you like watch the news sometimes for your inspiration. Are you ever just like, damn, I need to like not look at this for a while because I'm just.
No, not too much. I mean, the only thing, if I'm like, damn, I need to stop looking at this, is when I start overthinking it. And like, you know what, like, I'm thinking about this too much. Let me cover it up and start something else. Like, I feel like the best way for me to sort of like keep myself like reeled in is to start something new. You know what I'm saying? Because when I don't like,
keeps you grounded.
When I'm stuck on something, or like I don't know what to do, and like I'm feeling like anxiety, and I'm feeling like, I don't know, the pressure of this and that, I'm like, all right, man, like either like read a book or like go for a walk or process everything and then like start something new. And
one thing you brought up was the title. You said this was called Pompeii is Burning. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a whole other element too. Like, cause they're in the gallery, you see it, and then there's like the title underneath it. So is that like a big part of these projects? Like, you want people to see it, then read the title and be like, huh, how do those relate? Cause I would look at this and my initial thought wouldn't be Pompeii, cause obviously that's some Mount Vesuvius Italian.
No, well, not all my paintings like have that type of stuff. This one in particular did, because if you look on like the bottom right corner, there's actually a video.
I see it.
That is like about Pompeii, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to like put this one out in the world, was right when the insurrection happened. You know what I'm saying? because this is already sort of a commentary on.
Yeah, I think you showed me this like way before that. Like that you were like, this is what I'm working on right now.
Yeah, because like I said, I've been working on it. So this was already a commentary on sort of like where the United States was going.
It's like a world superpower, and now everyone's worried that it's crumbling.
Absolutely, like you got the boxing gloves, but those boxing gloves are deflated. Like I took out all the cotton from them. You know what I'm saying? There's like
you got the crutch. It's like on its last leg.
It's on its last leg, right? You got the vampire, the bloodsuckers, sucking the middle class dry, right?
And it's so interesting too, because it's like we have all these social justice, we got protests and we got riots, and it's everyone's tired of lockdowns and all this craziness. But then the moment like the political elites are threatened, then it's like, oh, the world is crumbling. It's like, no, we've been been like in pain, like.
Absolutely.
For a while.
Absolutely.
But you guys care now because they went after the cushy chairs, and they're like.
And that's, I mean, essentially, like, whether you're on the side of
it doesn't matter,
the insurrectionists or not, like, that's really what it came down to. It came down to like people had gotten to a point where they're like, let's take this over. You know what I'm saying? And it should never have gotten to that point.
Yeah.
You know, there should never have been like that sort of like rhetoric out there to push it to this point, but it was pushed to that point, you know what I'm saying, because of, you know, greedy politicians, corporations that, you know, just sort of like take money out of the middle class, and like that's who, you know, that was where the conflict erupted.
I think the thing with the Pompeii is so interesting. I don't know how much you know about Pompeii.
Not shit.
So in Italy, I don't know, like, was this during the Romans? I don't know. I'm not exactly sure.
It was like, it was during that Roman Empire.
But the crazy thing about Pompeii, it's Mount Vesuvius is a volcano. It erupted, and it literally froze the entire town in time, because it cemented everyone trying to run away from the volcano in ash, and they became little almost statues, essentially,
like fossils.
And they fossilized everybody, and so they have artifacts from like thousands of years ago, and it's like people, dogs, like the artifacts, like that.
It was like a beautiful, like, you know, like your classic, like, you know, Roman city. You
like frozen in stone. So it's almost, you have this powerful empire, the Roman Empire, and you probably have this flourishing city of Pompeii. Yeah. And then in a second, without any of them thinking of it, it all came to an end. So
natural disaster just wiped them all out.
Yeah.
So did they leave that town or whatever, or?
No, I believe they rebuilt.
They rebuilt it. Okay, cool. Damn, that's crazy. I did not know about that.
Yeah. So I'm assuming there's more of a political thing with this, of like, just because you're flourishing, just because you're the superpower, doesn't mean that can't crumble. Because I think if you grow up in America, you lived your whole life of just like, oh, we're the best country in the world, like we're this and that. And it's like, no, you have to constantly want to be the best country for whatever reason. You can't just sit here and be like, I'm the best just because I'm American. I'm the best just because I live in New York, or I live in LA, and like whatever. It's like, no, you have to actively be productive and be giving to the world, or